Okay, so I've selected my image, I've created my research, I've organized my outline in whatever way works best for me, and now I always set aside extra time because I've had a tendency in my life to sit there and go, okay, all the elements are ready, everything is ready to go. And I sit there and stare at my little flashing cursor, going, and now what do I do? So let's get started with this. Start with my name, of course. You know how I always highlight this because I have a tendency to forget my word count. And then the one place where I can be creative with my fonts is in the title. And the rest of it, of course, is going to be in Times New Roman 12 font. That is the established font that I want to use. Okay, so now if I could get excited and I could maybe go up here and play around with different ways to do that title picture, as long as I am not confusing my reader. And if I make this look cartoon, that's not the plan for this assignment. Now, if I'm writing a cartoon, that's different. But if I want to play around with this just a little bit, the rest of the images, of course, in the essay need to be in this same color palette, but I can play around with the title image if I want to. I'm going with this. I like making it look like it's a canvas and it's still not cartoony. I don't like this font at all. I'm going with this, but I may change my mind later. Now let's come down. I always put my name underneath it, and you will too, because if you get this published somewhere, then all of this information is going to go away so that you have something that you can publish. Okay, now we have the summary statement. This is my once upon a time statement. I don't want to use the word summary. I'm going to use something more creative. Remember, this section is simply a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs, to set up the world of the story and entice the reader to keep reading. That is this, what we call the summary paragraph, but it's just exactly like the abstract that you wrote for your expository essay. And so there's a problem here. Do you see what the problem is? That's right. This all needs to be double spaced. There is no reason to get points off for double spacing when it is just so easy to set it up from the beginning. Now this paragraph or 2 sets up the information. Of course, you know that there's information about that, how to write the summary paragraph to start the essay. I'm going to, instead of calling it summary, I'm going to call it On the Road to Glory. Now I'm ready for my story. I have decided to write my story in chapters with chapter titles. I'm not sure how you've organized your story in your outline, but you want to be true to your outline. I've outlined every chapter so I know exactly what happens in the chapter, and now I'm free to use descriptive words and dialogue and all of the wonderful narrative elements that I've decided to use. Now I like to make sure everything is right to start with so I don't have to deal with that so much with editing. I decided to timestamp everything. So this first little part here is okay to go ahead and single space. We don't need to have all that extra space used up. So there, that looks nice. Now I come down here and whoops, we have a problem. When I made that one single space, my little formatting went crazy. So I'm going to do this, and it's also changed the font somehow. So I like to do it one chapter at a time, and that way it makes editing so much more enjoyable. So I'm going to make that Times New Roman. I'm going to make it 12 font, and of course I have to go over here and make it double spaced. Oh, that makes it so nice. There we go. So that's the first part of the first chapter. Okay, so now I've gone through the whole process and I've written the entire story, and let's see what I do next. I go over to my EasyBib page. And of course, this is just a sample. I'm going to have lots of citations, but I'm ready to go. And so I'm going to export all, and I'm going to export to a Google Doc. And there are my citations, and I'm just going to make sure that all of them are correct. The works cited is proper. Okay, this is the name of the institution, so I'm going to have to use the all caps there. Normally I would take that out. Okay, there we go. I copy that, go back over to my documents, and take that out because I've had that place marked so I wouldn't forget. Okay, so now there's my beautiful citation list, except it didn't say citation list. So let's go back over here. Let's just add. Remember, it's works cited. Now below that, after I finish with that, now I'm going to put in my outline. Now my rough notes can be scanned, drawings that I did or outlines that I did or charts or graphs. When I write, I always organize my characters. I want to get to know my characters, and those are parts of my rough notes. And I always put a little image. So keep in mind that if I type this information, take a look at how many words that gives me towards my required count for the course. Gives me 1,022 more words that I can add to my word count. So now when I've finished everything, I've got the entire story written, then it's time to go back and edit. And when I edit, I find somebody who I can read my story to, and that will help me find where my problems are. There will always be problems. A paragraph isn't quite long enough. Something isn't it. Although there are no rules for how long a paragraph is, some of them are a sentence. But how does the dialogue sound? Can I hear the people? Are they talking enough? Have I gone? I've gone. These people. I'm describing everything, but my goodness, nobody said a word, and I need to go back and hear their voice. By the time I've written this entire essay, and of course I'm just showing you a portion of the essay itself, I can go back in and I have gotten to know the characters even more while I've gone through. And so remember, if I'm writing in the story, if I'm writing the actual story, I'm following my outline so that I hit all my plot points and I don't have any holes in the story where I have a character talking who is no longer there. So as I'm going back and I'm editing, I see this scene. But when blood was shed, Dina, the most squeamish member of the trio, threw up on Lydia's red cowboy boots. It was then that the girls knew it was time to leave. As I'm editing, I think, I need to hear the girls talking here. What are they saying? This is a interesting scene. So then I've got to give each one of them a voice. What the hell is that, Lou? Tricia leaned forward in the van's passenger seat. Looks like hell, I can't see a thing. Lou tried to see through the crowd and park the van in the midst of the chaos. Geez, Lou, Tricia shouted. It's a girl. What's she doing? Lou asked, jerking his door open onto the sidewalk. Trish pushed her way through the crowd, and the scene before her caused her to shriek in horror. Lou ran up quickly behind her, and a stifled laugh. Lydia was spread out face up on the ground with her legs and arms tied up like a roped calf. What the hell happened here? Tricia asked the man in the Quasimodo costume. That guy over there took out a lasso all of a sudden and started yelling at the girl. He was calling her a two-time and, Anyway, whatever we're going to do, I'm going to add words wherever I think it's interesting to add and let the characters speak. And when I've done all that, then I make sure all my elements are in order, and then I go back and I save the entire thing in a wonderful moment. I've added my images, I've added my pictures, and then I'm going to save it as a PDF. And I'm going to make sure that everything is documented. Remember, I have images that are required, and the images need to go in just so. If I put this image in of Trish, it's going to be a problem if I just stick it in there. That's terrible. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do position, and I'm going to put that one. I put it over to the side, and then I can move it around and put it exactly where I want it to go, so that here it is. It fits, it just shows this action in the story there. And when I save this as a PDF, it's all going to save in the proper place. It won't mess anything up. You see that? And that way I have a little action. The reader catches the reader's attention. I'm never going to find a picture of poor Lydia, but I can find a picture of Tricia drawing the reader into the story and making the reader want to go forward and read more. So all of the images are in here. Everything's all done. It looks beautiful. It looks pristine. I've added my word count, and I'm ready to, and of course in the word count, we do include the works cited. You include the rough notes, you include the outline, you include every single word you have written in this document. By including the rough notes and any rough drafts, you will add those total words to your complete word count. So everything gets added together as a final word count, and you've seen in the video on word count how to put together your total word count so that we can prove to the district that you've written all the words that were required. That concludes this tutorial.